Since the release of the original Rapidstrike in 2013, there have technically been 4 releases, 3 official ones out in the market. This blaster has since been revered as one of, if not the most modified Nerf blaster in the history of the hobby itself. What does this tell us about the future of Nerf Pro, and how does it serve as an indicator of what could potentially be the next Nerf Pro blaster? Let's find out. We are having a big giveaway of 4,000 subscribers, so if you have enjoyed these videos so far and you would like to be notified about the next video, and in addition win a free blaster as a bonus, maybe now would be a great time for you to join our team and hit that subscribe button. Either way, if you at least enjoyed this video, I would love it if you hit the like button, because that allows it to also get to other people who have not discovered this channel yet but would love the content and the value that we bring to the hobby. Without further ado, let's get into it, guys. So the original Nerf Rapidstrike was this model right here with the orange stripe. It was released in 2013. I believe the original mag was all clear. It was exactly what the people wanted after playing with some semi-automatic blasters for a while. The Vulcan had become bulky and heavy, originally intended mainly to be a turret gun anyway. The Rapidstrike was a perfect combination of versatility, portability, ergonomics, and handling. I personally still think this is one of the most easy and comfortable blasters to hold till present day. Shortly after that release in 2014, we had the XD Elite version, which had a white stripe instead of an orange stripe. Improved internals, as with most XD Elite things. Fast forward to 2018, you had the Stratohawk, which was the AccuStrike version of the Rapidstrike. Had some fancy new attachments. I do not possess the scope. Then in 2020, Hasbro was very sneaky with an unannounced silent release of what would be their latest iteration of the XD Rapidstrike. Even though this blaster was initially released in 2020, we didn't start seeing it on liquidation or discount stores until winter of 2022. I personally believe this might have been done to the container ship crisis shortly after the initial impacts of the pandemic really took hold of the entire economy. The differences mainly on this blaster was zero translucence, jam door was opaque, the magazine was completely opaque, not even a translucent half side to it. The handle itself was black as opposed to the charcoal or dark gray that we're used to seeing in prior releases, and the stock was solid orange as opposed to the half orange, half gray that we had also seen in the past. The cheek rest as well was solid black, but there's a lot more to this shell than what's just on the outside. I'm gonna take you guys through a little bit of unboxing as we typically do on blasting impression videos. We're gonna compare it against its predecessors, see how it does, and see if this tells us anything based on patterns and trends of what could be in the pipeline for Nerf Pro. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so we have our 2020 Rapidstrike. Looks like just any other Rapidstrike except for some obvious details. Fully solid orange mag, a more solid looking extendable stock, a few less translucent details all around. In fact, I don't see any translucence on any part of the exterior of the blaster. Let's go ahead and crack it open and see how it looks on the inside. Out comes the blaster in all its fantastic glory. All right, guys, we got your blaster. We have our 18 round solid orange mag, which I'm conveniently using as a paperweight to hold down the factory instructions, which also comes in the package, and 18 of your trusty original classic looking blue with orange tipped Elite darts. Now there's a lot more differences in this blaster than I realized, but there's also a lot of similarities which gladly Nerf did not abandon. We have the painted white stripe coming across this way, along with the painted extended stripe going all the way up to the front of the blaster on this side. You got Nerf still painted in white. You do have the duplicated white stripe across this side of the blaster, although the Nerf, as in classic standard Hasbro fashion, is not painted on the left side or port side of the blaster. One interesting detail that I noticed right away is that both the handle and this cheek rest back here are now black. These portions of the blaster used to be charcoal or like a solid dark gray in previous iterations of the blaster, but now they are solid black. Of course, as we were able to see in the depicted box, the extendable portion of the blaster is a solid orange as opposed to an orange gray or a light gray, dark gray combination, which we have seen on previous blasters. Now that we have unboxed the 2020 and latest iteration of the Rapidstrike, we have a bunch of questions. Is it built any differently? Does it perform any differently? Well, I can tell you right away that the build quality feels exactly the same. I was handling these blasters for about 2 weeks prior to making this video just to become reacquainted with them and get the feel back into my hands of what a Rapidstrike is and should feel like. And I can tell you that the build quality feels the same solid design that we're used to. Nothing major here. As far as performance, we're just gonna have to take it to the range. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop in 4 Energizer lithium on all of our blasters, including our Stratohawk. We're gonna take it to the mini range and then we're gonna do a test. Now, the reason I decided to do this blasting impressions video on this blaster this particular weekend, there's a huge incoming product that pretty much changes the game in terms of mods for this blaster. And I thought it would be a good idea to revisit this blaster prior to that video. That way you, the viewer, if you have never partook in the amazing ownership and play experience, specifically a modded one, you're hugely missing out. And I recommend you definitely try to thrift you one of these, or maybe there's a couple of Bell's outlets that still have these. I had a video not too long ago showcasing the sale that these people had going on these ridiculous prices, guys, but we'll get into that for now. It's time to pop some batteries in this and let's get to testing. All right, guys, so briefly before we head to the mini range, I realized they don't make Energizer Ultimate Lithium in C-style batteries, so I did a minor modification to the battery trays on all 4 of these blasters to accept a 2S battery pack. I did no other modification on these blasters. This is just for testing purposes. We're basically going to compare the blasters all equipped with a freshly charged 7.4 volt 2S lithium ion against each other. Just a simple FPS test. Maybe we'll do a little bit of grouping just for fun. What we're trying to see is we're trying to confirm the trend that Hasbro has been showing over time of slightly increasing their blasters. We knew there was a slight performance bump for the XD Elite, and we know that the Rapidstrike brought better darts, but we don't know what this obscure 2020 release brought as far as differences in what's under the hood. We're gonna go ahead and test them real quick and come back and give our final impressions. All right, guys, so the only 2 tests that really matter here are the chronograph and rate of fire. We're just gonna do a grouping test just as a formality, so we can also have an impression to associate with each blaster of how it performs just out in the open with visible darts. We're gonna start with the grouping, and then we're gonna do a chronograph. The chronograph is also gonna tell us a rate of fire at the same time, so that's 2 tests in one. Let's get into it. We're gonna start with the OG 2013 Nerf N-Strike Elite non-XD version of the Rapidstrike. Let's go. All right, that's our grouping test, guys. Let's do some chrono. All right, guys, to keep this simple, we're gonna do only 10 rounds through the chronograph. We might have some outliers. We're just gonna use the numbers that matter. Let's get to it. All right, guys, we got an average of 309 rounds per minute, which equals to 6.5 rounds a second. Our FPS number is a little bit off because of that 730.3 FPS outlier, but if you remove that one and you average the rest, you come up to an average of 86.24 FPS onto our XD Elite version. All right, guys, moving on to the XD Elite 2014 variant of the Rapidstrike. Supposedly this one has improved performance over its N-Strike Elite variant. We're about to prove that right now. We are running all these blasters on 2S 7.4 volt fully charged power supplies. Let's get to it. All right, not too bad. All right, guys, you already know the deal. 10 rounds. We're gonna get rate of fire and FPS in one shot. Let's go. All right, guys, we got a little bit of a slower result with this blaster somehow. We got a 5.67 dart per second rate of fire. Our average FPS, once again, is skewed by these high numbers. We know this blaster is not hitting 150 or 179. So if we average out the rational numbers, we come to a 94.15 FPS, which is considerably higher than its standard N-Strike Elite counterpart. However, the fire rate did suffer a little bit. Now, that could just be variables in voltage or how tired the motors are on this blaster. But at least we do have confirmation that the FPS is considerably better on the XD edition. Now we're going to test our good old Rapidstrike Stratohawk. Let's get to it, guys. All right, guys, same deal. We have a drum mag that is native to the Stratohawk. However, we did just load it with 18 rounds. We're going to do a quick grouping, and then we're going to do our standard FPS and fire rate test. Let's get to it. Okay, seemingly much better performance out of this one. All right, guys, we just got a couple outliers, but for the most part, our rate of fire suffered a little bit, but our FPS is definitely up. We got a fire rate of 4.65 darts per second, considerably lower than the XD model and the N-Strike Elite model. Now, I can confirm that this Stratohawk does have very tired motors. I personally cleaned this blaster out when I first got it. Maybe the pusher motor is a little tired. However, we considerably have a definite boost in FPS. We know this blaster is not hitting 130s with a 2S battery, and we know it's definitely not hitting that 289. But if you just get the rational numbers on this list, which is that 105 all the way through that 100, we come to an average of 103.76 FPS from the Stratohawk. That is really, really good on a 2S battery. And now for our final test, we're going to get our latest iteration of this blaster, guys, the 2020 Rapidstrike. Let's get into it. All right, guys, the latest and greatest Nerf Rapidstrike. Going to go for 18 rounds. Grouping, let's go. Woo! That definitely feels better. This is the highest rate of fire we've been able to achieve so far. The FPS is looking good as well. If we eliminate that 242 and that 124 outlier, we get a 100.71 FPS, just slightly lower than the Stratohawk, but we could see a little bit of a bump in rate of fire. Overall, the last two blasters are really close to each other, and it's really hard to tell if either of them had anything different from each other, but we could definitely see a trend where Nerf has consistently and progressively made these blasters better over time. Let's go give our lasting impression, guys. All right, guys, so as you were able to see, it was nothing crazy noticeable, but there is a significant increase in horsepower under the hood for the 2020 release of the Rapidstrike. If I'm not mistaken, we saw this many times with other blasters, not only the Retaliaoids and those variants of Retaliators, such as the Mark II and III, respectively, gained a little bit of a bump in power, but also their motorized blasters. We did notice that the strifes all the way leading up to the Modulus strife got about a 1 or 2 foot improvement over time. This was due to better electronics, better motors in a lot of cases, and just better build quality. Hasbro does try to religiously stay within that threshold of safe, family, fun, 70 FPS, but we have noticed that overall, they have carried over better and better build quality, ultimately leading to better performance over time. It would only make sense that if the Strife was improved this well over time, eventually leading up to a pro release, that the spiritual automatic iteration of that blaster, the Rapidstrike, would be the next one. I know a lot of people are hoping for some kind of a pump action Springer, although I wouldn't mind that. I think the market is just way oversaturated with pump action Springers. It seems that Worker, Dart Zone, or some random Asian company is just coming out of the woodworks, popping out a new Springer. It would be refreshing to see a lot more motorized blasters. I know you guys know that I'm a little bit partial to the electronic stuff. Needless to say, I just love the idea of a fully automatic Strifeoid or Rapidstrike. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. I want to let you guys know I really appreciate your patience. I know it's been a while since I uploaded. I've been hit with an ungodly, brutal amount of work pretty much the whole past month. I was even surprised I was able to get the last 3 videos out for you guys, but uploads might slow down a little bit. I'm not taking that proverbial break that you see a lot of other Nerf tubers taking, and I don't blame them for it. We all have life obligations that just come when we least expect them, and I'm pretty sure at some point I'm gonna have to face that as well. But for now, things just have slowed down a little bit because I do have a lot of obligations I have to tend to. I also have a lot of stuff coming on the way from manufacturers that they want me to review for you guys and that you guys have been asking me for, and I'm definitely not going to turn down those opportunities because I know how valuable it is for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, you're definitely going to like this one. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay blasting, foam fam.